Hey everyone, this is Pilot22, and this is one of my game collection videos I'm going to do here for you guys tonight. And I'm going to first start off with my PlayStation 2 and original Xbox collection, and I'll kind of split up the videos like a couple videos I should say, for a couple different systems. There are a lot of games, and I'm trying to give a quick opinion on each one. And yeah, so with that, here's the first game. First game is going to be Soulcalibur III, obviously you see here on the PlayStation 2. Yeah, your standard fighter game with weapons and all that. Soul Blade, original PlayStation 1 game, or Dreamcast game, I should say, if I recall correctly. Pretty good game for its day. Actually, me and my sister played a lot of this back in the day. But yeah, it's a good fighter, lots of characters. My favorite probably was Keelik, probably Keelik or Cassandra or Sophidia. My top three characters for this game. Anyway, it's a good fighter game. If you have an older first-gen PS3, backwards compatible, or PS2, I definitely recommend picking it up. Next, and again, these are in no particular order of favorites at this point. These are just games I have. Next is Rumble Roses. Basically all female wrestling. And it's a pretty good game as well. The graphics, nothing to write home about. But it's really cool, I think, anyway. It's really one of those games that's an acquired taste. Either you like it or you don't. Well, it's pretty much nearly naked women wrestling at this point. And obviously I can kind of see it's ready to mature. Kind of obvious at this point. But yeah, it's a good game. A couple different match modes at this point. Made a sequel for the Xbox 360. I think I have that one. Maybe I sold it. I can't remember. But yeah, that's the first game that's the first game I had of the series. So yeah, there's the first one. And this is Soulcalibur II. I guess maybe I started that one. But yeah, this is the one that was kind of multi-platform. Every system got their own exclusive character. PlayStation 2 has Heihachi right here in the corner. The Xbox version has, I believe, Spawn. And the GameCube version has Link as exclusive character. You can, I think, probably download this off the Xbox Live Store, if I recall correctly. It's a good game. Again, it's older than the Soulcalibur 3, of course. It's a good fighter. Graphically, it's not that impressive anymore, but it functions pretty good. So, yeah, it's a good game. Next one here. Smackdown vs. Raw 2006. You're going to notice that I'm going to have a couple of wrestling games in this collection because I'm a pretty big fan of that. But yeah, it's a lot of creative. We, my friends, had a lot of fun making a whole bunch of wrestlers, downloading saves and all that, importing rosters. It's pretty hilarious. Love the game modes and all that. Pretty fun game. Yeah, I paid $50. I can see it by the sticker there at this point. I probably got it relatively new when it first came out back in the day. So yeah, it's still worth it. But you can probably find it pretty cheap now if you look at the used bins, if they even have PS2 games nowadays. Next up, we have Simpsons Hit and Run. Pretty open world. It's basically like GTA for the Simpsons. Yeah, all the characters are in there. Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, Maggie, Apu, all of them are in there. Pretty fun, pretty hilarious game. You got quests. You gotta go from point A to point B, but you can kind of go off quests and just drive around town. Pretty hilarious. And yeah, it's a fun game. Next one here is Smackdown Just Bring It. Again, I got another wrestling game. One of the first wrestling games I had, well, the first wrestling games that came out in the PS2. And yeah, I don't think it's as impressive as the SmackDown Raw series, because obviously this preceded that. But yeah, it works. It's an alright game. Yeah, starring The Rock. Not much else to say about that. This one here, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. This is one of two games that I got when I first got my original PS2. That would have been back in 2003. Yeah, because that's when I first started college. So yeah, during the summer, something with my money I earned for the school summer jobs and all that. Yeah, I bought a PS2 and I got two games. I got the first one here, Smackdown. Here Comes the Pain. Good game, obviously starring Brock Lesnar at this point. So yeah, it's fun. And I guess there's a little hidden clip at the end here starring John Cena because he was an up-and-comer back in the day. Gosh, that was like 12 years ago. Oh man, wrestling's changed so much. I should probably go on a rant video about that stuff actually. Yeah, because wrestling back when I was growing up, when I was younger, it was a passion of mine. Still is, but the product nowadays, I can barely stand it. Another wrestling game, SmackDown vs. Raw '08, featuring ECW. Basically, same as the SmackDown Raw 6, just expanded roster, more modes at this point. Graphically, it's a bit more impressive. Yeah, not much more to say about that. Family Guy, the video game. What can I say? This is probably one of the games I'm perhaps a bit more ashamed to admit to owning at this point. It works. It looks like you're in Quahog. It looks like you're in the game. The voiceovers are there. Yeah, but aside from that, the game was hard to control, glitchy in my experience. So yeah, probably avoid this at this point. Yeah, I think I tried to sell this and they wouldn't take it. So yeah, that's saying something if they won't take that game. Anyway, next. Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Now, admittedly, these kind of games, I'm really not too much into the open world Grand Theft Auto concept. The Simpsons I was more into because I'm a big hardcore Simpsons fan. I have all the DVD releases that they've released up until this point, like season 17 now. I refuse to get the new ones that are just the episodes because I want the commentaries in The Simpsons. Anyway, back to this game. Oh yeah, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, probably one of the better games for the system. Grand Theft Auto Vice City, Grand Theft Auto 3, and all those ones. But they just weren't me. So, but it's a good game nonetheless, and if you can probably find it cheap, but still a good game to get. MLB 06 The Show. Now, I got a bit of a funny story here. I'll try and make it brief. When I went to the one used game store to buy a baseball game way back when in the day, I found MLB 06 The Show on the shelf, and it's pretty cheap. I forget the price, but I think it was like $10, $15. So yeah, I figured, why not? I like baseball, so I'll get the game. I go to the counter. The clerk behind the desk goes and pulls the game out of the drawer, puts the game in there, checks me out, all good. I get to the car. It turns out I have MLB 07 The Show. So they gave me the newer version for the same price as the older one. I wasn't going to complain, so yeah, but aside from that, baseball game, standard thing. All the characters are in there. I'm a huge Blue Jays fan, so they're my team. Go Roy Halladay. And yeah, that's probably one of the better baseball games I've had. Next is another wrestling game, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. It's definitely, again, another wrestling game. You can see all the characters there. Triple H, Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Jericho, and Booker T in the corner there. What can I say? It's a good wrestling game. I think it was the first one that actually the WWE logo, if you can see here. But yeah, rated teen. It's obviously the Diva matches and all their stuff are way better back in the day. They've gone downhill since, well, probably on the PS3 era. Because all the TV PG, it can't have a lot of matches. This is another game from my more recent pickups, which admittedly I have not played yet. Dark Cloud, I've heard good things about it, but I have not played it. I got this game from a friend at my previous job, and yeah, they said I had an extra copy, so they gave it to me. I'll take a free game, why not? And apparently, from what I heard, it's pretty hard difficulty, so I should get around to this one of these days. I actually still have my PS2 hooked up. I had the original PS3, the fat version, which was backwards compatible, but it kind of overheated, so I had to get a new one, which is not backwards compatible. So I had to dig out my old PS2, and thank goodness it still works, and all is well. This one, what can I say? It's not really a game, it's 6 demos. The Jam Pack Volume 15, so not much more I can say about that. Looks like there's a baseball, there's a Lego Star Wars in here, things like that. So let's say playable MLB 06 The Show, Yakuza, Need for Speed Carbon, Destroyer Humans 2, Lego Star Wars 2, and Okami. I guess they're worthwhile games at this point, so... But yeah, since it's just a demo disc, not much I to say about that. Next, we got TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is, if I recall correctly, basically like a Smash Brothers type for the Turtles. Yeah, it's alright, I guess. It works, but I'm more partial to the original Turtles game back in the old NES, which I'll get to eventually. I'll show you in my future videos. Next pile, I got 2 piles. This is the first one, the second pile. Mortal Kombat Armageddon. I think this is one of my favorite Mortal Kombat games. It has pretty much the entire roster of characters: Kano, Liu Kang, Darth Cage, Sonya, all those, and Baraka, and all the more recent characters. And there's like a little Mario Kart mini game. Mortal Kombat Racing is actually in here too, which is quite insane, but like it really doesn't really make sense for a Mortal Kombat game. But nonetheless, it's in there. As you can probably expect, it's very graphic. Obviously, Mortal Kombat the way it is. Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. This is basically, if I recall correctly, basically the combination of Monkey Ball 1 and 2 that's put on the one disc. And the controls, in my opinion, in my experience, the PlayStation 2 are very subpar. Graphically, it looks okay. It's a Monkey Ball game that not much to really say about it. It works okay. But the controls suck. I prefer Monkey Ball 2 on the GameCube, which I have, which I'll show you later in the video. I'll give you an impression on that later. And yeah, that one works a lot better for me. Next, an RPG I really love, Final Fantasy XII. Now, on the grand scheme of Final Fantasy games, I love all Final Fantasy games, but on the scale, like on the top and the bottom, my opinion, I love it, but it's near the bottom, to be perfectly honest. I've never beaten it. At this point, I'll admit that right now. It's got a good story. I just can't get used to the different kind of battle system it has in this game. I know it's similar, but all those, the things you got unlocked on the board, all the loot you got to find, it's just a lot different than anything I would really expect from a Final Fantasy game. Still, it's a good game. You can find it. I definitely recommend picking it up. Next one here, FlatOut 2. Now, this is probably one of the favorite games on the system. One of my earlier pickups as well. Basically, ragdoll physics. You can drive up the courses, do stunt driving, crashing, and launching your character from the car, hitting targets. Soundtrack was pretty cool in this game as well. And I know they got a couple of the games. I think there's out for the computer as well. Maybe a couple of sequels. Then I think